Hello everyone, welcome back to American Government and Politics. So in this video, we're going to go over Article 3 of the Constitution. So let's get started. So here I have Article 3, and this article outlines a specific branch of the government. So let's go over that right now. Starting off on Section 1, and it says, the judicial power of the United States shall be vested in one Supreme Court. So, as you see here, we have one Supreme Court and judicial power. So, we are going over So this article goes over the judiciary branch. Alright, so let's move on. So here's Section 1 here. And this pretty much is just a brief overview of the federal courts. All right. Now, so essentially the judicial branch will consist of a head court, which is the one Supreme Court, and a system of lower courts that Congress creates from time to time. So they will create these courts from time to time, and the judges presiding over these courts will keep their positions for life. So this is a lifelong commitment to be a Supreme Court justice. So the Supreme Court and inferior courts shall hold their offices during good behavior and shall at stated times receive for their services a compensation which shall not be diminished during their continuance in office. So essentially that means that the judges will serve their salaries at predetermined times, which won't be reduced during their term in office, so that you won't get a pay cut. I know sometimes in jobs we get pay cuts. Well, when you're a Supreme Court justice, your pay will not decrease, which is kind of nice. Now, the Constitution does not establish a federal court system, but says that Congress must create one. So according to the Judiciary Act of 1789, one of the first acts Congress passed created the federal courts. And Congress names the head court the Supreme Court. So after the ratification of the Constitution, it was in that case, they immediately enacted the Judiciary Act of 1789 to establish the judiciary branch and the Supreme Court. So let's move on to Section 2 here. And in this section, we're going to learn what federal courts can do. Okay? So, starting right here, the judicial branch will have authority over cases involving the laws of the Constitution, the laws of the United States, treaties, and cases concerning ambassadors and other foreign representatives right here. The federal courts will also have authority over cases related to shipping regulations as commerce. Okay? Conflicts at sea, cases involving the U.S. government, and cases concerning disagreements between two or more state governments. So different states in between states of the same claiming lands under grants of different states. So you can consider the Supreme Court in this aspect here, highlight here, of kind of like a mediator. Of some sorts. Now, let's move on to this portion here. Now, the judicial branch will also have jurisdiction in cases between state government and a citizen from another state. So, as I stated here, that's where this comes in. And this was actually changed by the ratification of the 11th Amendment. Right here. So this was changed through the 11th Amendment. Okay. Which states that federal courts have no authority in lawsuits between a state government and citizens of another state or foreign country. Also between citizens, so moving on from there, between citizens from different states, between citizens of the same state fighting over land that other states gave to them. Right here. And then also stated was between states government and its citizens in a foreign country or foreigners, and this was also changed by the 11th Amendment, which can arguably raise questions on federalism and sometimes freestanding federalism. So here we have this outstanding issue of federalism. We have a federalism issue here. And as you know, and some constitutional law scholars will call this standing or freestanding federalism. And this term was coined by John Manning in his article in the Harvard Law Review. All right, so let's proceed on. So in all cases, so in the Supreme Court, the head court will hear only those cases involving ambassadors. So there's ambassadors and other foreign representatives here. In cases directly involving a state government, and we call this original jurisdiction. So let's pick another color. So right here we have right there. They just state the type of jurisdiction that they have is original jurisdiction. Congress can make exceptions to this rule, so Congress can come in and step in. And the head court will hear only those cases mentioned above that other federal courts have already heard. And that is what we call appellate jurisdiction. So we have two types of jurisdictions here, of appellate and original. All right, and this kind of move up a little bit here. And it says here, the trials for any crime committed will be tried by a jury. So we have a jury trial, except for impeachments. Trials will take place in the state where the crime occurred. Okay. Right here. So if you committed a crime in Georgia and you live in Alabama, you'll be tried in Georgia, not Alabama. Now, Congress can decide where to hold the trial if the crime wasn't committed in any state. So if it was committed, in a different country or a particular territory, then Congress has the ability to decide where this particular trial would take place. All right, let's move on. A very hot topic sometimes. Section 3. We are talking about treason. Dead giveaway. Treason. Treason is... Actually, let me kind of read this little spiel here first, and then we'll kind of get into the definition. It says, treason against the United States shall consist only in levying war against them or adhering to their enemies, giving them aid and comfort. No person shall be convicted of treason unless on the testimony of 2 witnesses of the same overt act or on confession in open court. Treason is defined as waging war against the United States or assisting its enemies. No one can be convicted of treason unless 2 witnesses or the same suspect confesses in open court. In other words, in this case, you must have corroboration. A court cannot just rely on one witness and one witness alone for a charge of treason. There must be corroboration. There must be another witness to support another witness of an act of treason. Okay? Now, moving on, Congress shall have power, will decide the punishment for treason. So they have authority, although the question or trial of treason is given to the Supreme Court. Congress has the right and the authority vested in the Constitution to declare the punishment or the charge or the punishment of treason. However, there is an exception to the rule, and there are limits to powers, of course. It can't be extended to a traitor's relative. So you can't go and charge, the person's mom, dad, sister, brother, son, or daughter. It has to be only the person that is being charged. You can't charge the family members because they probably didn't have any part of treason, so you can't falsely charge someone of a crime that they didn't commit. Now, Congress can confiscate a traitor's property. Okay, so Congress can seize property only while he is still alive. So you can only seize property. So here it is. Or forfeiture except during the life of a person's attainment. So you can't, take property while they're dead. Now, just a little brief historical background. At the time of writing the Constitution in England, they had actually treated treason by punishing the family members of the accused was referred to as corruption of blood. So, obviously they wanted to make sure, since we were formerly under, colonial and British rule, we didn't want to have that same mentality. So we decided, instead of us adopting British traditions, we're going to make our own laws in how we execute and punish people of offenders of treason. This concludes Article 3 of the Constitution. This is the last part. So I highly recommend that you take a look at the judiciary video that will go over the history of the judiciary branch. I highly recommend that you do that after this video. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. Bye.